Today, as we continue in looking at the names of God in the Hebrew Scriptures, we're going to look at one more Jehovah or Yahweh derivative and then move on to another name for the Lord found in the Old Testament. But we're looking at Judges chapter 6, verse 24, and we read in the legacy here, so Gideon built an altar there to Yahweh and named it Yahweh is Peace. So we see once again, we're talking about Yahweh, the all-sufficient God, the principal name for God himself, and he is the God of peace. So the Hebrew derivative is Jehovah Shalom. So this to the Hebrews, shalom was a very important word. It is usually translated, and rightly so, as peace in the Bible. But to the Jewish people, it had a fuller implication, connotation than most of us would think of with peace. With peace, we think of calmness, being no conflict. If we're at conflict with somebody, we now have that reconciliation and we have peace. We're restful. And those are all true things about peace. But the Jewish people saw this word as a bigger word, as more comprehensive. So peace to the Jews included all aspects of goodwill. When someone was wished to have, that they would have peace, may God's peace be with you, that was a wish for all things to go well with you, that your health would be good, that you would prosper financially perhaps, that your farmland would be good and productive, that your family life would be good, your friendships would be good, your relationships with God would be healthy. So this had a much bigger connotation, a much bigger emphasis when somebody was wishing you peace. Now, I realize like we do today, it probably was a cliche for many people to simply say shalom to you. Might simply have been a cliche, like we say, have a good day, and we don't really mean it necessarily. But for those that meant it, it carried a lot of weight. It was very important. And so when we come to this passage in Judges, and this is just one place, we find that the Lord is our shalom. He's the Lord of peace. And so Gideon built an altar there to Yahweh, so he is building this to the Almighty God, the self-sufficient one. And he said then in this verse that he named it Yahweh is peace. So Yahweh is the one that would give him all things of value. And he recognized that at this stage in his life. God would not only give him victory in war, God would give him true peace. Now let's move on to another word, and that's Adonai. This is a different word. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 6 right now in verses 6 and 11. Adonai is the third word that you'll find in the Old Testament, big word for God. We have Elohim, all-powerful one. We have Jehovah, the principal name for God, the all-sufficient one. Adonai was kind of the third word, and it meant master, one of great authority. It is a word that could be used on occasion of a human master and slaves speaking to their master and so forth, but it also is used of God. And here in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8, we see that. It says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And then I said, here am I, send me." And then in verse 11, he says, "Then I said, Lord, how long?" And he said, and then we'll stop right there. So the word Lord, now in the English, in most translations, like the New American Standard, the word for Adonai, when it's translated Lord, is in the lower case. So we have capital L, the lowercase O-R-D, where Jehovah or Yahweh is translated in all caps. So that's how you know the difference in most translations. Now, this one of the features of the legacy is to go ahead and translate the word for Yahweh, which is in the New American Standard in all caps, as Yahweh, or where Adonai would be actually translated Lord, as we have in this text. But he is talking about Yahweh. Look at verse 12. "And Yahweh has removed men from far away," and so forth. So he is speaking. Yahweh and Adonai is the same person, different name for God. But the connotation with Adonai is he's master. He is the one of all authority. He rules over all things. Jehovah is the self-sufficient one. So we have both of them here. But Adonai gives us just a bigger, interesting and helpful picture that this all-powerful, all-sufficient one is also the one who is in control of all things and has authority over all things. That's important to know, and that word helps us to understand that.